Point of sale was formatted and structured with actual Sage 100 ERP data. I'm going to begin by going through briefly the registration process. When you initially install Point of Sale Professional, we have a module that's called Library Master Extensions that will also show up in your Sage 100 menu. The Library Master Extensions serve for a couple different things. One, which would be the most important, is the actual enhancement registration. This is where you would type in the keys for point of sale. Point of sale requires register licenses per cash register. We include one cash register license with the initial purchase, and this is where you would be able to register the different. Actually, I'll just show you really quick. This is where you would be able to register the different enhancements from SWK and also see the number of register licenses that you own. The other thing that the Library Master Extensions offers is the spell check. This is at no additional fee to you, and it will work throughout your Sage 100 system, so you may as well take advantage of it. Before I go into the point of sale setup, I also want to point out that when you install point of sale, if you go to Help, Enhancement Manuals, we also provided a mini manual for version 4.5. You have access to it, so please feel free to use it at your convenience. Okay, I'm going to jump right into the Point of Sale Professional options. One of the things that I like to mention with regards to point of sale is that it will not make your business process change, yet the other way around. You can customize Point of Sale Professional at will. The flexibility that you will notice is immense when it comes not only to the functionality, but the security levels as well. As you can see, I have options as far as what modules I can integrate with. For my presentation, I chose all of these modules. I also have the option to include credit card processing or not. If I'm integrated to accounts receivable, you can see that I have options as far as updating my monthly cash receipts. It can either be by customer payments, all transactions, or none. I decide if I'd like to keep track of the customer's last purchase. When it comes to updating cashier statistics, you also have the option. And if you decide to use layaway with point of sale, you decide how many days you'd like to retain the completed layaways. I can choose my fiscal year and my current period. I'm setting up a default opening cash, but this can be overwritten in the different areas in point of sale. I'll point them out as we go along. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and leave it at $50. And you can see I can set up my next cash drawer and transaction number. I've enabled credit card processing. The integration to General Ledger gives me the option to allow point of sale entry of miscellaneous charges or special items. My default General Ledger accounts, you can see I have the different options depending on special items, cost of goods, purchases. And then I decide whether I want to post to General Ledger sales journal in detail or item cost. Point of sale entry, this is just additional security that I can set up through point of sale for my cashiers or for the point of sale entry screen. I decide if I'd like to display item cost and line items in detail, require reasons for voids or return. In the point of sale entry screen, do I want to display the cashier or salesperson's name? Because I'm integrated with bank reconciliation. Do I want to deposit by payment type? My active receipt gives me the option to double size the font, make it bold. I can decide if at the point of sale entry screen I want to leave the last transaction on the screen or get rid of it. What would I like to display when I scan an item or type in an item? You have the different options as well. I'm going to go ahead with description and item number. And then as far as printing, you decide if you'd like to print a sales journal by cash drawer And you can see the different options that I have here. I'm not going to read through them, but you can see the flexibility. Now let's go to location maintenance. By location, now point of sale is giving you additional security levels and additional functionality. For this particular location, I can choose my bank code, tax schedule, ship method. I could marry this location to a specific warehouse, price level. I decide if I wanted the item pricing to be retail or standard. And this is the key. I can limit transactions to one specific warehouse or not. If I uncheck this, basically what will happen is that my cashiers will be able to view all of the different warehouses. It could be an advantage if you run out of inventory in one location and you can sell it from another warehouse. In customer transactions, should I use the standard price or not? Again, the integration with General Ledger will allow me to choose my source, journal, freight account, sales tax account, etc. And you can see the information as far as warehousing, segment value, and additional substitute warehouse segment in different criteria. Now by location, point of sale entry is also allowing for additional security. Do I want to allow layaways at all at this location? Do I want to allow the cashier to change during entry or not? I mentioned to you at the beginning that we can change the default opening cash, not only at the point of sale options, but by location and by transaction type. So the integration with accounts receivable will allow me to use sales tax schedule from customer. If a customer is over the credit limit, what would I like my cashiers to do? What do I want to give them permission to do? With inventory, do you want to allow to check quantity on hand during entry? How about selling below item cost? You decide. And then you decide if you'd like to allow for back orders. So this is something that will allow you to set up the different forms by location. Now, what's best to do when you upgrade or when you install version 4.5, make sure you clear all the forms out, and then you do a lookup and choose the form. That way you're going to be sure that each form is connected to the different transaction code type and description. If you have questions about this, please let me know. Now, once we went through location maintenance, let's go to register maintenance. And forgive me for skipping around, but there's limited time, and I want to touch upon the most important features right now. With register maintenance, you can see that you could marry this register to a specific location or department number. It is required, please make a note of this, it's definitely required that you choose a transaction code and a payment type. Otherwise, you're going to get an error message. And you can see that for this particular case, I chose sale, but you can choose the different transaction types or add them. Same thing applies with the payment type. And it's just the default payment type. Your devices, I mentioned that we allow the use of poll displays. Product scale, that's something that I didn't mention during our PowerPoint, but you can see that point of sale also allows for that. And then, of course, the touch screen. I'm going to show you the different screens. Well, it's the same screen, but the different sizes, if you do decide to use a touch screen. And you have options for first and second cash drawer. Make sure that when you set up the printers for this register, you select, if you select print, make sure you add a printer, otherwise it's going to error out. We've had a lot of reports of that where you choose print but you forget to add the printer. Or you can always set up the PDF as well. Or choose, check off prompt, and when asked to print, just say no so that it doesn't error out. Let's go to Cashier Maintenance now. Again, the level of security is expanded now through a cashier. For example, Jane, you have to set Jane up with a MAS90 user and a password. Marry this cashier to a specific location. You decide whether or not you want the cashier to be a manager. And then do you want to tie them with a salesperson? That can be done as well. Notice with point of sale entry, how many more options you have as far as security. And I'm not going to read through every single one of them, but as you can see, there's many limitations that you can set by cashier. Whether or not they open and close the cash drawer without a transaction, whether you decide to let them suspend transactions, void them if you require a reason, override an item price, etc., etc. As far as transaction history access, because of the integration with accounts receivable, you want to make sure you specifically decide by cashier what access you'd like to give them. Notice how with customer data access you have all of these options. And do you want them to add customers on the fly? You can see with history, you're able to view different years of history. If you go to summary, you can check by transaction type and the different years as well. And then if you go to detail, you'll be able to see the different cash drawers that this particular cashier has ever worked with and drill down into that cash drawer information. Let's go now to payment type maintenance. Payment type maintenance, and this is just so you can see the different payment types that I have set up in my system. You can see how cash, check, MasterCard, terms, and Visa. I'm going to go ahead and choose check first. And this is standard accounting. You choose your asset account over short. If you go to the default transaction, you can see you have options. By transaction type, notice the additional security that I'm offering through Point of Sale Professional. You decide if I'm receiving a payment with a check, do I want my cashier to open the cash drawer? Why would I? Maybe not. Print a second copy of the receipt or a signature line on the receipt. Allow overpayment. Disable verification. What are the required fields if I accept this type of payment? I want to make sure to get the check number, the driver's license, the name, and you decide. I'm going to jump straight over to a credit card now because I do want to show you, as far as accounting, again, pretty much stays the same. Security, same. But now when you go to credit card, to the credit card tab, notice how I have my fees accrual account, virtual terminal ID. I can include a discount percent per transaction fee, pre-authorization term, allow corporate cards, confirm the last 4 digits, and notice how my payment server settings are here. I have my merchant key, and then you decide what requirements. Show address verification, validate code verification, you decide. You can also use the debit cards, and of course you're able to view history. So now that we've gone through the different setup options, I'm going to skip past the other ones because I want to make sure that we touch upon the entry screen enough. And the way it works is your users do not have to go into MAS90, your cashiers. You can set up an icon on your desktop, and basically when they click on the icon, they're going to be able to see this login screen. So at this point, they can choose the date, of course, select the cashier. I'm going to select myself. I'm set up as a manager, so I have permission to do things that other cashiers wouldn't be able to. Then I'm going to select the cash drawer. Now remember, we separated the cash drawer from the cash register. So you can set up 20 cash drawers, and then your cashiers can just come in, choose the one that there's available, and continue on to logging in. If you decided to make customer number or to enter a customer as a requirement, the cashier will be forced to enter the customer information before they begin a transaction. Otherwise, they can go straight into a transaction, and you can see I have my different transaction types here. So I'm going to choose a sale. Notice how the transaction number came up on the screen for me. And I'm going to go ahead and choose a customer now, just because I want to choose one. So it's Abert Accounting Services, and you can see it's on top of the screen as well. If I want to go back and click on it, I can still see the information. At this point, your cashier can either scan an item, type in the number, or do an item lookup. In my case, I'm going to go ahead and just show you the item lookup. Now remember, the tight integration with inventory management is giving me access to all of my inventory items. And depending on the security, you decide whether or not you want to give your cashiers access to item maintenance. Notice how I brought up item maintenance, and this is directly from inventory management. If there's any orders, I can view the history, everything that you have access to, and I hate to repeat it, but I have to. Anything and everything you have access to within inventory management, you will have access at the point of sale depending on the security level. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the inventory item. I have the system set up to default to a quantity of 1. So that means every time I scan an item or enter the item, it'll automatically populate the quantity of 1. I can always change that and say, okay, they decided to take 20 instead. One of the nice features is with the new point of sale is that you have this calculator now available to you. We didn't used to have that in the past. Another nice new feature due to the grid entry is that you can change, just like you do in standard Sage 100, change these fields around at will. So I'm just going to put it back for now. And maximize the screen so you could see the flexibility when it comes to touchscreen. One of the biggest complaints I used to hear with the old point of sale system is the fact that everything was so small. When someone was using a touchscreen, they weren't really able to touch on any of the buttons. Well, now you can maximize it and everything becomes larger for you, and it just makes it so much more touch screen friendly. You also have, coming from standard Sage 100, the ability to remove a row, add a row, move the rows around. You're able to reset rows, etc. Before I continue on with this transaction, let me just show you a little bit about the buttons that are available in the entry screen. You have the discount button. You can see I have AR customer discounts. You can include it by percentage or by a standard quantity. We have the freight. You can see you can go ahead and include it there, or just have something set up so your cashiers can choose. Sales tax. Notice how you have the information that you need, again, coming straight from Sage 100. Your payment types. I gave myself permission to access all of the different types of payments, and I will go back to this screen, but I wanted you to take a quick peek at it because it does look different from what you're accustomed to if you are a current point of sale professional user. Layaways. This can be grayed out if you don't want to allow layaways at your company at all. You can gray it out. Should you decide to keep it as a layaway, then you can enable the button. If you want to cancel a transaction or accept it. The manager button. This comes in really handy when there's a lot of people in a line and say the cashiers are on break. The manager wants to make sure that everyone is well taken care of, so the manager can always log in and continue processing transactions. Another advantage is that the manager button will show up throughout the system. So if anything, a cashier left, anything is going on that a cashier cannot handle, the manager can always log in and take care of it. One of the features that Point of Sale Professional offers is the ability to require a login per transaction. So this works really well for companies that have multiple cashiers using one cash register. That way, every time a transaction begins, the cashier has to log in, complete the transaction, and on the next transaction, they have to log in again, meaning that you can keep track of every different transaction processed by the different cashiers. You have the ability to suspend the transaction. I know this has happened to every single one of us. You're in line for like an hour, you're finally getting ready to pay, and the person in front of you forgot something. Runs out of there, leaves the transaction halfway through, and the cashier looks at you saying, well, I'm sorry, you're going to have to wait for them to come back. We took care of that with the suspend transaction button. All you have to do is click on suspend. The transaction will go away, and you can begin your new transaction. There you are. So that's an advantage in itself. You decide if you want to give your cashiers access to customer maintenance once again. And this button really is available even without a transaction being on the screen. So notice this information is coming directly from accounts receivable. I can make changes, edit the address, the phone number, add information, etc. Transaction history inquiry, you'll be able to see the different transactions that are complete. The transaction type, for example, if it's an order, quote, a sale, if it's been completed, void. And you can see if it was a transaction. There's a lot of cash sales where you don't require the customer that have gone through. Notice how you have the export to Excel functionality, of course coming again from Sage 100. You also have the ability to see completed transactions in your register. So I haven't updated or anything yet, but I want to be able to see what's going on. You can see I have one in layaway and one is suspended. Register payout and register withdrawal. You decide if you'd like to give your cashiers permission to do this. The payout comes in handy, for example, with the UPS guy that comes in and wants a $20, you have to make a $20 COD payment. You're able to keep track of this payment at the register. And again, you decide who to give permission to do this. Register withdrawal. So you had a really good sales day. There's $1 million in this cash drawer, and you want to put it away in the safety deposit box. What you can do is take that money, set it up as a register withdrawal, and it'll come up at the end of the day while you do your reconciliation. You can allow or not to lock the register. This comes in handy when you have a full day at work and you want to be able to take your break, but you don't want to have to take the cash drawer out or whatnot. You just lock the register. And then if you want to give permission to open the cash drawer without a transaction. This button comes in really handy because it's a price lookup. You don't have to actually enter the item into the entry screen. You can actually just go in here and scan it, type it in, and you're able to see the information about that item. So let me add a couple more items here. And we're going to go ahead and accept the payment. So I'm adding these items. You can see how easy it is to change the quantities. You can also, depending on the permission, change the unit price. Just notice the level of security that we're offering throughout the system. And I'm going to go ahead and accept the payment. This is how easy it is to accept that payment. Say, for example, I'm going to go ahead and accept 56 cents in cash. You can accept multiple payment types per transaction. Before I accept the cash, let me go into the credit card because I'd like to accept the balance afterwards. So with the MasterCard, I have it set up through Sage Payment Solutions right now where you can actually accept the payments, and this is the screen that will come up. At this point, you can either swipe the card or type in the card number. So I'm just going to go ahead and type in the card number. And notice how you have the swipe the card button. choose the expiration date, and you know what, I think that's it. I'm just going to submit it. Notice how the system is telling me what the required fields are. And this information comes from my setup. This is what I said I wanted my cashier to enter. So I'm forced to actually fill in the information. And now I'm going to go ahead and, oh, there's a code. I'm going to go ahead and submit my payment. And you can see the transaction ID. I can go ahead and void or new. If I have to swipe the card again, I can. And then I can authorize. And once I do that, I can go ahead and print the receipt. And again, remember, you could actually set it up so that you can print signature lines on the receipt or not. Print a second copy of the receipt or not. Other than that, in this screen, that's basically what you have. Let me go back in, and what I'm going to do now to finalize is actually go through the reconciliation. So let's see. Once you choose the cash drawer reconciliation, you're able to choose any cash drawer that you want and check for variance. You can also set up a cash drawer for the next day, for example. So if you choose the next cash drawer, you can set up the default opening cash for the next day and save the changes. Notice how once I'm going to reconcile a cash drawer, it can no longer be opened. Now, point of sale offers complete crystal capabilities. I know my reports look really plain, but you can customize them at your convenience. You can choose cash drawer by location, and you can see how you can check all or none, uncheck them. And I know my dates are all out of whack, but it's just for this presentation. So it's going to go ahead and process the sales tax, show me a full report of the different states, different sales tax, different transactions. You can see that my payment recap will show up as well. And then you can go ahead and print your gross profit journal. And update. Now notice how I actually updated Jane. And there's a reason behind that. I want to be able to show you in accounts receivable exactly what's been happening while we've been working at the point of sale. So we've been working with ABERT. You can see the invoices and drill down. You'll see that the source journal is coming from point of sale, and it'll show you the transactions. You can drill down the same as you would in accounts receivable. So if there's any transactions that you've processed through point of sale, they will automatically come to your accounts receivable module. And the same thing will apply with inventory management. In inventory management, the inventory is instantly committed. So you don't have to run the risk of someone else selling an item that you've already sold. Notice how it'll say when it was last sold. And you can go into history, transactions, and you're able to view the items that have been sold. One of the things I had mentioned as well, the manager inquiry. This is especially handy for all managers who are not at the stores at all times. They have to be at the back office doing whatever it is that they need to do back there. And they can choose by location, choose a cash drawer, choose a cashier, so they can view any, basically. And they're able to change the cashier's information. They're able to view the cashier activity, depending on the cash drawer. So any activity would be there for them. They could view all locations. They could see if there's any cash, too much cash, and put it away. Notice the other options in the inquiry screen. I had mentioned the different types of hardware that Point of Sale Professional is compatible with. You can see it on the screen. There are items that we have specifically tested and recommend. If you need the item numbers or need additional information, please call or email your Sage reseller or me, and I'll be happy to send you information. The only thing I cannot provide would be pricing, but your reseller is going to be able to give you that. I also want to make sure that you're aware of the other enhancements that SWK offers. As you can see on the screen, we have an apparel matrix, bill of lading, and many other enhancements that will integrate as well with your Sage 100 ERP.